Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Corton, and we're here to have a spotlight art and talk virtual exhibit with Terry Cockerham tonight. And one of the things that the Spotlight interview does is we bring artists together to present their artwork with art talks, exploring their art development and discovery in their progression and their profession. So welcome, Terry. It's nice to meet you. Nice to see you. And this is Terry's bio, and I'm going to let Terry kind of talk about where he got started and where he is today. So Terry, would you like to kind of tell us about yourself?
It's going to be boring, but I'll go ahead and do it. When I left college, I went into the Army. Well, I had to because they wanted me so badly to be there. And during that time, I was in Germany for the first part of my year in the military, and it's such an incredible place to travel in. I bought myself a camera, and it was the first one that I had ever owned, and I have it right here in my hand here. And it's,
cool.
Yeah, it's this one right here, if you can see it. Pretty simple.
Wow.
Not anything like what we see in today's cameras.
No.
But that's where I started.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of really bad work for a number of years. And when I was out of the Army, I actually got a job working at UT Southwestern, and I became a photographer to cover all kinds of things going on in that university, and got better and better and better. And during that time, in a population of something like a facility that large, there were a lot of very attractive women, and I would suggest to them that I'd be happy to take a photo of them. We would set it up usually in the evenings after everybody had finished the day. And of course, I didn't charge anybody for any of the work. I basically would do their photographs, I would give them copies, and then I would store the images that I thought were worthwhile, and I would put them away. And so over a period of time, a long period of time, that's kind of, that went until about almost 2000. I had my own business, and I bought my own camera equipment and so on. And of course, the cameras changed over time, but I continued to have the process of what I was doing. Yes, I did make money off photographing people for other reasons, but I got focused on trying to have a history of women in this generation, going from that period in 1975 or 76 up through 2003, I think, is when I got my first digital camera. And then it went on from there. And of course, now I'm retired, but I still have most of those images. So in the early stuff, it was film, black and white film for a whole bunch of time. And then as the years went by, we got a little bit more sophisticated, and that's the kind of work that I've been doing at this point in time.
Yeah. So what we're going to see tonight basically is the first in a series of your women photographs. And I know that you have several series planned, not only with women, but also with structures and things like that. So this is kind of exciting because what we're seeing tonight, Terry, is where you began with the women and in the series. And it's an interesting series, and I think everybody's going to appreciate that. So I know that, here we go. This is the first one. This is called Questions. Would you kind of like to tell us about this?
Well, this is typical type of image. She probably worked in the university, UT Southwestern. And of course, in the evening, at somebody at 5 o'clock when they would be ready to go home or whatever, if they had met me at some point in time, they would like to come in because they knew that I'd been doing this. And she's a good example. Very attractive young woman. Of course, I was a very handsome young man at that point in time. Most of that's gone now, but that was where we started, basically. And I tried to come up with unique positioning for the females. I had to start hard from that because I really didn't know. When you're taking a picture of somebody in a surgery, it's not quite the same thing.
No,
So I would tell them, and they would also provide themselves to do different positionings. We wanted something that wasn't just going to be a straight on face shot without any kind of body positioning or anything like that. So that's how it started. And in the beginning, it wasn't great. I have to admit that. But as time went by, and I don't think any of these are in a natural order, but as time went by, or what time goes by in this process, when you have a focus on a subject of something like this, you tend to adjust it as you go along in life in the process. And
that's
so
very true. That's very,
all
very
my
true.
work has done that.
Okay.
So that's one of the first examples when I was still at UT Southwestern.
Knowing your work from then to where you are now, I've always been impressed how you absorb and create the light and dark textures of your work. And I see the beginning in this picture of the woman with the kind of the white aura behind her, and then it fades into the darker thing. And I know that follows through a lot of your photography, which is interesting. All right, let's go to the next one, please. All right.
Okay, sure. Now this is contemporary. This is not one of the university. We decided that we were going to add some additional images. I kind of did that quickly, but what I did, this is one of the professional ones for in my business. I started very much the same way. We were doing headshots for staff members and stuff like that. It didn't have to be an artsy thing. It just had to be something that could be used for one of their, I don't know, one of the things they had to have on a tag or something like that. But I started off, they weren't all great in the beginning because the first digital cameras, this is when this started going on, the first digital cameras were just awful. The first one I had, the first digital Nikon that came along, I think it would get about 3 megabytes or something like that.
Wow.
Very, very small amount of information. And the coloring was way off. You get red people, and they weren't all naturally red unless they'd been burned up or something. But it started off that way. And of course, you can see that how I've focused, in particular on this young lady, you can see how the spots for the light on her eyes are in the right position, and there's not extra lighting for their face. The background just has a light behind her that's putting a very soft light behind her to separate her from the background. That's kind of how all of the headshots ended up being. 99% of the time, most of the stuff I did for the people themselves, I did it in black and white. For their process, for their real photo that they were going to have in their office or something like that, I would keep it in color. But over time, the cameras got to where you could get really better color.
That's a beautiful picture. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
This I love. This tells me this is where Terry begins.
This is an interesting, this is actually, this woman was she was actually a wife of a really good friend of mine that we had gone to college together with, and he had gone to a different military project, but I went to the one in artillery. So he had a lot more fun, but that's when he met her. And she was really approachable. She was very comfortable of getting photos taken. There are a number of those of her that I've done, some of which are a little bit more racy in what she's got clothing on or not. And she was very comfortable the whole time. She wasn't feeling that it was something weird or anything like that. I always kept it a factor that there's no getting that close to the person.
Ah.
That was something that I did the entire time. I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that there was no question as to
Right.
what we were doing.
Well, it's good policy. I love the way you've got your shadows and the sculpture, and she's so bright and light. It's a beautiful picture. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, I'm thinking.
Just another young lady that worked at the department someplace. Got to know, had seen some of the other work that I'd done. I had done on all of these young ladies. I would do a series of images. It wasn't just one image. It would be, 10, 15, sometimes 30. Just because what I was doing was I was trying to get the best possible image I could of that person. And this is before we had all of the adding to the show. We just did it black and white, straight on. That's basically what we were doing, or I was doing. The subjects were just helping me going along.
Okay. Well, again, you've got the black, the light is just great in this picture.
Yeah, the lighting is the important part. You always want to not have it be just light on one side and black on the other.
Yeah, you're very good at that. Let's move on to the next one. Okay.
Now, of course, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was just, this is like a painting. It's very, very, very beautiful piece.
I think so too. Actually, she was the wife of a friend of mine who was a doctor. Very comfortable about her positioning in the photos. I did a lot of her stuff in color because it was just worked out well for her. But like most of the stuff, when it gets to the end of any project, especially in somebody like her, I always feel like when it's black and white, it's a little bit more artsy. If it's color, it's too reality. So I had a sample of her in color that I was thinking about adding to the project, but it just didn't work for me. I like black and white.
Yeah, it reminds me of someone who works in pastels. It's the way you use the shading and the lighting.
Very kind of soft look to it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful picture. We'll move on to the next one. All right, this is the beginning of your model series.
Yeah, what happened? Somehow somebody got my name during that time, and I was still doing the other stuff too, and you'll see more of those. But excuse me. I had people come to me that wanted me to photograph some of their models for a particular art thing. And same story, I wouldn't charge anybody. I did it all. And it was, for me, it was a project to get to the best possible level I could get. And by doing it this way, I was more likely to get somebody to come in and be a subject if they knew they could do it for free. And I could know that I could get to photograph somebody like that that you wouldn't ordinarily find.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we started.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next one in the series.
Okay. This was actually the first model that I ever photographed.
Wow.
And this is on location. And if I can remember where that was, I can't even remember, but obviously it was a building with a big block of walls. And in this particular case, there was a series of young females that they were doing for some, I don't know, somebody that sells clothing or something like that. And same story, everything in black and white. We started at about 7 a.m.
Wow.
For the shooting. One would come out. We would shoot a whole bunch of that person. I would shoot a whole bunch of that person. She would go back in. The next one would come out and be in a different outfit. And we do another positioning, a different positioning. Yeah. And we would do that. Was
this pre-digital camera?
I'm sorry?
Was this pre-digital?
No, this is still film.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah. This was the first one, First one I shot
Okay.
of a real person that I didn't, out of
Yeah.
outside of the UT Southwestern.
Okay.
And that went till about, if I remember correctly, something like 2 or 3 afternoon by the time we got done shooting all of it.
Okay.
And by that point in time, I was just dragging. So,
Bet you were.
and I'm sure they were too.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. There we go. I like this. I love her look.
Same thing, another
Yeah.
model.
Mhm.
We did a whole series of her alone
Mhm.
over a number of days. It was actually in the winter part of the time, and some of the photos of her are outside. She's not particularly covered up in warm weather
Mhm.
or clothing. She was actually pretty minimal in clothing in a very, very cold situation. But
Wow.
she was awesome. She didn't, complain. She was
Oh.
willing to post whatever she wanted to do. Again, I don't know, can't remember who there was that wanted her to be photographed, but again, free. I did it for just for the purpose. And again, another benefit of working with people, professionals like that.
Mhm. It's a beautiful picture. I love her expression. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on to the next one. I like
This is real humanity here. This is this woman. Actually, I have photos of her and her daughter. She was a friend of mine.
Mhm.
And I was at his house, and he and his wife are there. And we were just kind of piddling around. And he said, well, I've got this person next door, and she would be a great model. And
great expression.
I can't remember how old she was at that time. This had been a long time ago. But she actually was very, very flexible in what she could do for the imagery. And she would take a position like this and feel completely comfortable with it. She'd never met me before. So she felt very comfortable. I felt very comfortable. My wife was there with me. And it just came out really well.
Yeah, I like the way the background is totally black, and then here comes.
Yeah, she had a black dress on.
Yeah.
And I think we just had a piece of black cloth behind her.
Yeah, it's great. All right, we're going to move on to the next one.
Okay.
This is the beginning of your nude series. Can you give us some information about how you did this and what camera you used?
Carefully. When, again, another young female that I had met, and she was interested in having photos. She actually worked when I had started my business. She worked in one of the other departments, and so she was interested. She was very comfortable not having to have a lot of clothing on. We always photographed in such a way to have a standard kind of level. We didn't want to go beyond anything showing too much.
Yeah.
She was really interested in it, had a lot of energy. I've done more of her in the past afterwards. I don't have them in this series, but I have them. Really very, very comfortable young lady. She was looking for rich males, which I'm not one of them. But she thought that this was something that she could really be involved in and really enjoy it. And she did.
She did a good job. She's very powerful the way she stands there. Like, you're not going to mess with me, buddy. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, this is a beautiful shot with all the coloring and or not the coloring, but with the shadows. You did a good job. All right, we can move on to the next
This
one.
particular.
Oh, I'm.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to the next one.
Did you want me to?
Yeah, just talk about the last two. Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, this one. This was an interesting, one of the first ones that I did this is obviously film and not digital.
Okay.
And the camera that I have here I showed is the one that I used because it was the
Wow.
only camera I had.
Mhm.
And I had a call from a young man who
Mhm.
said that he would like for me. I don't know how people heard about me, but apparently my name had been around. And he said, I'd like for you to take some photos of my wife in the nude.
Mhm.
I said, well, that's okay, but are you sure this is something you want to do? And he said, yes, and she wants to. I went to their house.
Oh,
It
okay.
was actually an apartment, actually.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It was an apartment, and
Okay.
I did a number of series that they wanted, but I didn't want to show some of the stuff that we did because it was just
Mm.
not comfortable to me. Uh,
Mhm.
and so this is one of her. I have several of her that I feel are
Mhm.
approachable and good quality and aren't something really
When-
kind of bad. But
Yeah.
this one is very simple and it's
Yeah.
very simple shape. Doesn't show who her face is or
When
anything
you're
like that.
working with nude models, what is it that you look for? The angles of the body, the light and shadows, the composition. I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's tough to draw it, let alone photograph it. So I was curious
Well,
what you
yeah,
look for.
yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised some of the ones I've done
Mhm.
didn't have clothing on
Mhm.
that probably wouldn't be considered to be model.
Mhm.
But it was the subject matter that they wanted. But
Yeah.
in this particular case, she's a young woman, beautiful hair,
Mhm.
and very, very kind of, I don't know, very simple in terms of how she
Mhm.
worked around and got in the photos.
Hmm.
Um, and
Mhm.
again, it's one of those things. It just came out of the blue. And the one that you're about to see is the same kind of situation.
Okay.
So
Right. Let's move
that's
on.
pretty
There we go.
much her. This is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love the way she reaches.
I got a phone call
Mhm.
out of the blue, same kind of thing. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know how my name had gotten spread around. Young female
Mhm.
at her own house.
Mhm.
Um, Again, same thing, same camera. Um, Basically, we did a whole series in her house. Very comfortable about everything, but she was also in her mindset she was not going to allow anything that she would think would be obscene.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
was one of those people at that point in time that I would feel real uncomfortable for a lot of people if they tried that. I wouldn't do it.
Right.
I didn't want to see that.
Yeah.
But in this particular young lady, very attractive, very physical,
Yeah.
had a beautiful house by herself.
Mhm.
And we did a whole series in her house,
Mhm.
and she was, really happy with the project.
It's interesting how you have the window, which is very, very bright, but
Yeah.
then you get to the model and you darken it up, but around the buttocks area, you pick up that light and then just fractions of the window patterns on the floor. It's a great composition. It really is.
What I loved about it was the light coming through the
Yeah.
windows, but of course she was standing in the windows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if her neighbors were okay with that,
Oh, well.
but she was very comfortable with the
No,
whole.
it's a great study. All right, let's move on to the next one. The young woman.
Ah,
This is a great
this is the
picture.
daughter of the other mother,
Ah,
and,
oh, wow. They both have
and
those eyes.
we did both of them the
Mhm.
same day, and I have one of the two of them together.
Mhm.
I didn't. It's not in this sequence, but
Mhm.
again, somebody that feels really comfortable to position themselves whatever they want to do.
Mhm.
And I really don't tell the subject, well, I think it's better if you do this, or if you
Yeah.
better you do that.
No, it's very
I
organic.
let them, I
Yeah.
want them to decide what it is they think they want it to
Mhm.
be. And in most cases,
Mhm.
the final product is exactly what they wanted.
Mhm. I love her hands. I mean,
Oh yeah, it was
they
amazing.
almost don't look like they belong to her. the way she's positioned them over her head.
Well, and again, if you look at her eyes, the light's
Yeah.
hitting her in the right way with that
Yeah,
spot on the top.
yeah,
And
great.
it's just, it worked out really, really.
Yeah, it's a great picture. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one. This is
Now,
another great one.
this one, she was early on in UT Southwestern.
Mhm.
And again, I don't remember where she
Yeah.
worked in the UT Southwestern process.
Yeah.
Of course, she's like me now. She's older, like I am. We were both probably very young, and
Yeah.
she was very comfortable in dressing as she did.
Mhm.
She did a whole series in that bathing suit. Made my life forever for somebody that would dress that way for me.
Yeah.
And again, the same thing. Nothing was shown that wasn't supposed to.
What do you have a light behind her head to get that kind of halo?
How to get the lighting?
Yeah, did you have a light behind her head to get that
Yes,
light?
it was
Yeah,
just,
okay.
instead of hitting the background, it's coming back to the back of her head.
Oh, okay, all right. It's really cool the way you did it.
Could have done it either way. It wouldn't have mattered.
Oh,
You get to
okay.
see the hair a little bit better by coming from the back as opposed from bouncing off of it.
It's nice. All right, we'll move on to the next one. I like it.
Again, and again, we're in UT Southwestern. Late in the evening, after the end of the workday, again, a very attractive young woman, a married woman, and very comfortable. She came in. We did a whole series of her, probably more like 12 or 14 images.
Wow.
But this particular one is what made me interested in it. It was her positioning and the way she was kind of folded in two.
Mhm.
Very, very, very sweet woman. And again, very attractive.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure she had a very happy husband because she's very attractive.
Yeah, very, I like the way she folds over. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one.
Okay.
Okay,
This one is one of my favorites.
yeah,
This was actually photographed with a different camera than mine.
okay.
A more professional camera.
Mhm.
This young lady was a nurse, very, very attractive, as you can see. Her face is gorgeous. She still is,
Mhm.
even after all these years. She still is very, very attractive. And we did a series, both black and white and color,
Mhm.
both. Not too well, before I quit my business, I actually ran into her again. And of course, at this point, she has grown children. And I did a photograph of her again, very similar to this positioning.
Huh.
And she still looks that way. I mean,
Oh,
I
wow.
wish I looked that good. But she.
That's a compliment to your photography.
Very, very pleasant young
Yeah.
woman.
Looks like it.
And it was surprising that she would come into the studio that we had. There were
Mhm.
three of us that owned this studio space, and it was really just a disaster. But we had backdrops, which you can see on this one.
Yeah.
And we, had a really beat up chair, so we put some material on it.
Yeah.
And she was perfectly comfortable coming into it.
Well,
And it kind of did that in that period. People would, for whatever reason, my focus in the company was to do this kind of stuff. And it was a lot more fun for me to photograph these really attractive young women than it was for the other two guys to do the work they had to do. So I got the benefit out of all of
You got
this.
the best of it. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one. Okay.
Okay, this is another one. This one has actually been softened a bit. This is one of those that I threw in. This is one of the early 2000s images. Limitation on what you could get out of it. So a lot of times I would convert it to black and white because the coloring balance in a lot of the early cameras were not very good. And then I would soften them up a little bit so that their skin would look absolutely perfect, which
Yeah, it does.
is not natural, but it a photo, it looks really good. She's also a nurse. She has, I don't know how many kids now, 3 kids, I think.
Yeah.
She was gorgeous the entire time I knew her. And we did a couple of series with her in the studio. And she was always comfortable to do it. And again, like all of the other young ladies that I worked with, they were all very comfortable in the process. I could understand where some might not feel that way, simply because of the clothing or lack of the clothing that they had. She felt like it was just natural. So, and it's done in such a way that it becomes, again,
they're quite beautiful. Her face is exquisite. The way you've lightened it, it just reaches out in the photograph. It's quite beautiful. All right, we're gonna move on to the
Not
next.
the same lighting as the rest of them. If you look at her, the hot spot in her eyes, always is important to have that.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one.
Now this is one of the ones that was an add-on, and this is contemporary. And so I was looking for some contemporary images. I didn't want it to be too awfully boring, so I found this young lady, and I thought, you know, that's her father.
Nice.
And she had gotten, if I remember correctly, something about her in college, and I can't remember what it was, but it's been a while. I've been really fortunate to have the opportunity to get something like this, where you have father, daughter, or father, child, or something. And she was just delightful. She came up to me, again, this is one of those that I just did for nothing. I didn't make a whole lot of money with all this stuff, but she came up to me and told me that she had done this in college, and my father's downstairs. Would you be interested? And so on. I said, of course, because the benefit that I get of all of these things. There's some other stories I have similar that just has feedback to me. I had a series, not the same people, but I had a series with young women and older women that had cancer. And they were coming up trying to find a way to get rid of it, of course, but they wanted to have something that was a positive image of each one of them. And I think we had 6 females, 1 male that had cancer. And we did a whole series of each one of these young women and middle-aged women. And the same kind of thing, black and white. I photographed all of them, and we do it in different periods. They wouldn't always be there at the same time. We would come up with something for each one to be unique, to make them some kind of positive effect. And this is typical. As what I would do is I would say, okay, well, here's what I want you to do for this photo. And sometimes it was with mom and her child, or something like that. We did those whole series. It took about a year to get everybody, I think, in time frame. And we made a print, a large print, which got sent out to a company. And it's now in one of the hospitals that has all of their pictures on the wall. And they enlarged the image more so than I could produce, but they have those. And one of them, every once in a while, checks with, sends me an email and, let me know how I'm doing and stuff like that. The sweetest people I've ever met in my life. And I think because of what they were living with, the benefit of them and me being together was a positive thing, and each one got a benefit out of it.
And that's very important too. I mean, it's like you said, it gives them a positive way to get through a very tough time. And still feel their femininity and beauty. So yes, it's
amazing. I'll
Yeah,
never
it is.
forget it.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. Lady in Waiting. This is a beautiful photograph. It truly is.
This young lady, I love her to death. I met her casually from a friend. Her name is Tatiana. She is an artist. She has worked with me in photography. She has worked with me with another male that she helps with. She is so incredibly good at what she does. If you needed to have somebody that could do all of the hard stuff in your work, she would be the person. The dress that you see there, she made that dress. She did that herself.
Wow.
And she is from Russia. And I mean, every once in a while we have lunch. She is just delightful.
It's a beautiful
I
picture.
don't think I've ever found anybody that's so positive as she is.
Wow. So all right, we're going to move on to the next one.
Okay.
I love the way that you photographed her with her skirts flaring out and the color in the cloths around her, and as well as on her face and everything. It's the Terry I know when it comes to lights and darks and shadows. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the actual original was in full color.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Again,
What do you like better? Do you like the black and white one or the color one?
Black and white is my favorite.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yes. In fact, I see color photographs not being the same as being, and I know that's stupid, but the black and white always has something that I get some kind of.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to
it's
one.
in this case, this young lady. Okay. No, go ahead. I mean, that's
no, I didn't want to interrupt.
Story.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm finished with her.
Okay.
Go ahead.
On to the next one, please.
I'm not finished with her in that way. I'm sorry.
Okay. There we go. I want to know how you got this one. Did she just jump up in the air and you caught her?
You'd be surprised how many times I take people to jump. And you remember that I told you the young nurse that was sitting in the chair? I said was the one from my studio, the original studio. This is her now over the years, and has the children now.
Yeah.
And she's still a nurse. And a lot of times when you get a subject in there that has energy, and like she has, I would say, and she's just one sample of many. She did this incredible jump. We did several times to get it to where her arms were where I wanted them, but she was so focused to do it. She was perfectly happy up there and jump up and down.
I love where you caught her energy.
We did.
It's a joyful jump. It's all
whole
Yeah, it's great. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Black and white, which is what I gave her a sample again. None of these people paid for anything. For me, the benefit is the pleasure I get of doing it.
Yeah.
Now, I do some people at the hospital when I was working with them, I charged them, but not the patients, the people that work there. The patients always got free. But, the doctors, I figured they can afford to pay.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, we move on to the next one. All right, the muse.
Now this person is the first of what, not this particular positioning, but the first woman that actually got me interested in doing something artsy. She's an artist, a painter, incredible painter. And she, over the years, I met her, gosh, I don't know when, and she's still a very close friend. She would come up with ideas for something like this. This is later on, but she would come up with some kind of positioning, clothing, or not so much clothing. She would do just about anything. And every once in a while, I haven't done much recently. In fact, we tried to do one recently, and it just didn't turn out the way I wanted. But
Mm.
she has been with me for I don't know how many years. I mean, I probably started photographing her in about 2003. So you can imagine how many years I've worked with
Yeah.
her.
She's
And
truly your muse.
yeah,
Wow.
she's very comfortable.
Yeah.
She's very comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I love her smile. Okay, let's move on to the next one, please.
Again, that's Judy.
This is a very poignant picture, Terry. Was this something you did at UT
Okay.
Southwestern? When I spent some time looking at this picture, and I realized this child is in a burn unit. It was, wow, very powerful.
This photograph is something that has lived with me for years. I took this photo early on in UT Southwestern. It was one of those things that they wanted with the same camera, that they wanted me to go through where the burn unit was.
Wow.
And it was me and another guy from one of the other bigger businesses. And I was walking through there. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I was by myself on this time. And I was walking by, and of course, this is way back when you could get in a close area, whereas nowadays you can't really do that. But I was walking through there, and I saw this child completely burned all over his body. Mother was burned too, but it was one of those things. It's like the Madonna. It's holding that child.
Yeah,
and,
very much so. It's a beautiful picture.
And every time I see it, of course, it's been how many years? In fact, right now my eyes are starting to water. It is something that I will never forget. I made a copy of it and gave it to Tatiana, the young lady I showed you. And I said, I want you to put that away and you hold it, because if something happens to mine, I want you to have that, because that's so important to me.
Yeah.
This was probably something that, I'll never forget, because you walk into a situation like that and you see a child in that conditioning. You just can't.
It's a powerful photograph. It truly is. It just, you have to, first you see it, and then it's one of those photographs that pulls you in to identify what the issue is in the photograph. And you've caught all the powerful emotions that a mother would have for a child, and the way the child just is in her arms.
This was not planned in any way. She didn't do that for my.
No, it's natural.
In fact, I just happened to walk to that position and shot, and she didn't even bother to look at me. And obviously, she was focused on her child.
On her child, you can see it. You can feel it. It's a beautiful picture.
It haunts me, but at the same time, I think it's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. All right, we're going to move on to the next one. I want to know how she did this. Did she fall from somewhere?
No.
Okay. Explain. No. We've been trying to figure this out. Like, okay.
Yeah, she's a really good friend. And I would tell her, well, we're going to do something different today. And same story, no cost. What I did was, I had a stool she was sitting on. And so what I did was, and it took a lot of work, I had her position herself like that. And then I went and cut out the stool and balanced all of the coloring, the grays, so that they matched. And so that her shadow or her bottom was proper, because that's where the feet of the stool was. So it would have showed if I did, unless I went in and painted all that in. She was thrilled with that, obviously, to have that photo. It was a hard one to make, but it was something that I was really, proud of, being able to pull it off and make it look like she's falling.
Yeah, you did a great job because we've been trying to figure out how did you get this model to do this?
She wouldn't have been happy if she
Robert
got
from
all the way down.
It's great.
She
Great
probably would have
expression.
been really mad.
It's great. All right, we're going to move on to the next one.
Okay.
Would you like to talk about the lady in the lights?
Sometimes I get a little freaked out, and I go over the edge here. I actually did 2 of these.
Uh-huh.
She's the second illuminated young woman. And I just, sometimes I would say, there's got to be something more than just standing in front of a backdrop. So I did all of this winding of all these lights and wrapped them all around her.
Yeah.
We created the light for her.
Uh-huh.
And
It's great.
all of them in color, it's actually really beautiful. But again, I'm kind of stubborn. So it's still a black and white image, but the color version is gorgeous, but it makes it Christmassy. So, because the background is kind of a rich red. And so I said, we'll just leave it black and white because I like it the way it is. So
yeah, it's the black and white challenge. You're always going, what you do in your pictures, and you do it very well. It's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I was
Yeah.
going to say, we're going to go on to the next one. The reflection. This is a very nice photograph.
This is one of my earlier photos. Actually, this is probably UT Southwestern period of time. I met her at one of those organizations that kids go to, and they, have people like her to control the kids, not control them like for playing and running, but they would have classes and all kinds of different art stuff and stuff like that. And she was one of the first that I photographed. She actually, we became very surprised that it didn't become more than that. But it was just one of those things that I think I was a little bit shy. And but I thought, gosh, she photographed so well. We did a number of series. This is a regular film camera image, which you don't get quite the same much as you do in a digital camera. But it came across smooth enough that I felt like it was comfortable.
I love, the way you caught her looking out the windows. It's very good.
The light hits her face just the way it does, and so on.
Yeah, it's great. All right, we're going on to the next one. This is a great photograph.
This one is unusual, and for a number of reasons. This young lady is a very close friend of mine, and I met her when probably 15 years ago, something like that. She was considerably younger than I, and she's a nurse. She's still a nurse, but basically what she is she's a really close friend, and what she has done, she has been a support when I have to get a B12 once every 3 months or something like that. And I'm one of those people that's scared to death to have a needle in my arm. and so she is so positive. She'll say, well, if you need to get your shot, come to me and I'll give it to you. And she does it all the time. I love her. She has just been so perfect. She is comfortable. She's funny, attractive. She is just really delightful. And she has been close to me for a long time. We've known each other for all this long period of time. And, unfortunately, she has an issue right now, and she's dealing with it. So it's one of those things. You find that one person that's willing to do whatever you ask, and they'll do it. And, I couldn't give myself the OB12 shot. So I said, I can't do that. I just can't make that happen myself. And she said, there's nothing to it. I'll do it for you. And
Oh,
so
that's nice. Nice to
I
have a
would
friend
go to
like
her and she'd give me the shot.
that. Mhm, mhm. Okay. This is an interesting one. Again, you've got them going up hills. I love it.
Yeah, this young lady is, I met her again. See, so many of these are the old vintage stuff. She was just very proactive, everything. I mean, energized all the time. Had more energy than I ever had. And she I can't remember what her job was, but she was more than willing to go anywhere to get a photograph. And we did this one at the place where all the flowers are.
Oh, the Arboretum?
Yes, the Arboretum. See, I don't remember what they are. I just know that's where I was. And we did a whole series over a period of, I think, 2 days, maybe just 1 day. And in fact, I think on the picture at the top, when we came onto the program, I think this image is on the left side of me. She's in that picture. And she was very young. She was getting ready to move to another state because she had a boyfriend and they were going to get married. I don't know if they did or not, but she was, again, one of those that was so energized, she could do anything. She could probably outrun anybody I know. She was one of those kind of athletic and physical young women going up a wall by using her feet and hands to go up like that.
Well, you captured her determination as she climbs up those steps. I mean, goes up the columns.
Oh, she could have gone all the way up. I mean, she's perfectly normal. I said, don't go too high. I can't aim the camera correctly.
Oh, funny. Well, now I know we're getting into your color series. So tell us kind of when this started and the dates, and was this done with digital or were you still in the film cameras?
This was early on. And one of the crazy things I did, I actually photographed some color. Not that I wanted to. I met this young lady at UT Southwestern. Again, was interested. I said, okay, we'll do something. We did this in the studio with some coloring, and very pleasant. Again, one of those people that's perfectly willing to be a subject without feeling uncomfortable or anything like that. So she, I don't know what her situation is now. Of course, it's the same thing. 50 years have gone by. So
again, you've got all the color highlights. It's interesting. No matter if you do black or white, you focus on that, the shades and the colors and the black and the white.
I'm not hearing you.
All right, we're going to move on.
Now I can hear you. Okay.
And again, these are the color series, and these are portraits of people that you worked with. Is that?
Well, these are, when we were coming up, you wanted to have some contemporary stuff or contemporary types. I pulled out the ones that I thought would give the best message across. And again, basically a headshot, very simple, very straightforward, gray background with a little bit of light on it.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, pretty straight on.
Yep. Okay, we'll go to the next one. This is a
same kind of situation.
Yep.
Headshot, nice spot in the eyes.
Yep.
The blue backdrop with a light, just building it up behind her a little bit so her hair separates from the blue.
You did it again with the lighting. It's gorgeous. All right, next one, please. This is the same lady that you had in the beginning.
But we were up at the front. She's moving around.
So.
Maybe that's the end of it. No, guess not.
No, we got another one. I think we have two more. This one you said was published in a magazine. Is that correct?
I think we did. Yeah, I shot it, and I think we put it in a magazine for something, and I can't remember what it was.
Okay. I love, again, see, you've done the light and the dark, and you picked a the reflection on the
I
glass.
first did, I had another positioning. She's the same one in 2 shots.
Yeah.
Basically, we were thinking of what would be something really unique. I worked with another artist, and we came up with the idea of the little parts of the flower and in the very prickly limb to make it look like it's, coming up into the mouth. I actually did a little retouch on her to make it smooth a little bit better. I tried not to do that very much any more than I have to, but in this particular case, I wanted it to fit with the image. I wanted to be as smooth of her face as the smooth of the glass. And so it tends to work out that way. I love the color in it, the red and the blue, all of that just worked so well.
Yeah, it is.
It's one of those things, sometimes you make something out of nothing. And this particular case was one of those.
Yeah.
We just happened to have the material necessary and a young woman that was willing to do so.
It's a beautiful photograph. Okay, now I think we have 2 more portraits in color. So you want to talk about those?
This is the same thing. It's basically one of the ones that I grabbed out quickly so that we could have some extra contemporary stuff. Again, you notice this is the same blue, light to blue backdrop with the light at the right angle so that her light is on both cheeks, but the shadow on one side, on the left side. And it's still not dark. It's just a bit lower. And the markings in her eyes shows exactly, little spots shows exactly from where the light is coming from. I try not to make anybody's face be flat. That takes away from the image. And she's a good example of what, in my particular positioning, that's what I want in a headshot. I want it to be rotated slightly, the face not be flat and illuminated and everything else dark. I want it to have kind of all of that light moving around all of that.
Well, you succeeded. We'll go to the next.
Once in a while, I get lucky.
Well,
same thing. This is exactly the same positioning. If you look at it, it's exactly the same. What I would do to all of these people that were getting their headshots, I would let them sit the way they want.
I like the way again, it's your light and the way you
but what I shoot,
eyes and your nose and all. I mean, that portrait is talking to you. It's great. It's very good. Well, Terry, we've come to the end of the montage of all of your work, and I want to thank you for sharing it. And I have some questions I would like to ask, just kind of in an organic conversation. Who were your photographic mentors? Who are the people that really got you interested in being a photographer?
Probably Ansel Adams and the other gentleman in that period. Black and white photo all the time. It got me so hooked on that that I didn't have the interest of the other stuff. I mean, and of course now in this period of my life, I've moved along to a lot of different things, but most of the stuff I shoot is black and white. And of course, Ansel Adams was that fame for that. And so I have worked on Big Bend, of course. I've done women in black and white. I've done a little bit of military that I did, which is in the original time, which is not worth looking at. Just about everything came around to me that this is what I wanted to focus on, is to keep a very simple, very style looking image. I didn't want it to be so colorful that it loses your interest. And Ansel Adams, like I said, he's the one that really made me get focused on that. And it's what got me started to photograph landscape, which is most of my work is landscape.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's true. And I'm looking forward to the series of Big Bend because I love that. It's
the Big Bend book is about 3/4 done.
Okay.
I'm about maybe 50 more images, having 200 images in the book.
Wow.
And in fact, I'm going to try to go back to Big Bend. There's some things that I missed.
Oh, wow.
Just
Wow.
that depends on both
Yeah.
my health and the
Mhm.
COVID situation in
Yeah,
that
makes it tough.
Texas.
Makes it very, very tough for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
How is technology changing what you do as a photographer?
Well, right now I'm not working, really working.
Yeah.
Most of what I do is like right now I'm going to have a show at the Irving Art Association coming up. At the end of, the dog didn't want to go, I guess. I'm going to have one there where I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to hang photos on a rope,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
as if it were in the book. And I'm going to have all sizes of prints. There'll be people, there'll be landscapes, there'll be hipstematic stuff, all of that stuff floating around in that room, the smaller room in the back, or on the other side of the main office there.
Wow, that would be very interesting.
I'm going to do it in there. And I'm going to have, I guess, a month. I'm not sure how long they let it go, but I think it's a month. And I'll have all of that. But that's my next big project. And I've been working on that. It's driving me crazy trying to get everything done. Because I'm going to show photos of just about everything. People, places, things, stuff that is trash looking images and some that are really unbelievable. It's going to be a little bit of everything. And so
it sounds very interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I think it will be. I've been working on it for quite a while. I want it to be something that's unique, that when people walk in,
Yeah. Wow.
be hanging as if I just took them out of the processor or something.
Wow.
So,
wow. So what is your target date for all this?
Well, I have to have everything there, I think, to that Saturday or Sunday.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Sounds good. Now we're going to open it up to if anybody has any questions. You've seen Sam. I don't know who else is in.
So I got about a half month left here.
Sam Rogers is one of the gentlemen who's come in. He's an artist. And I don't know if he has any questions. Sam, do you have any questions for Terry?
Well, I've done some photography myself over the years. But, your work's way ahead of mine. That's just
Everybody says that, but it's not true. Everybody does beautiful work. So.
Yeah. But I enjoy it. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's a benefit to meet other photographers too. I actually have just got my son to be able to do some on his own. And, it kind of makes me feel good that he got over time. Yeah, none of my other children are interested, but at least he's doing it. So it is a benefit. And I don't know how old you are, but I'm 72 now.
Older than you.
So for me,
You're 72?
Right.
You're
72.
I have you beat by several years.
Look at it this way, gentlemen.
There's a benefit on doing it.
Are evolving to be great artists, and we have a history of doing that growth and discovery in whatever our medium is, and you all have done very, very well. You truly have.
I think it's a benefit to do it, to keep doing it,
Yes, that's right.
If
That's
you
what makes
stop,
us
you're
unique.
gonna just pour out and never be
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing to do.
Mhm. Well, Terry, this is coming to the end of our program. I don't know if there's anybody else who would like to ask questions. No? Okay. I want to thank Terry Cockerham for an amazing montage of early work. We really enjoyed the women's series. I hope in the future that we see more. because I know the other things like Big Ben and stuff are just phenomenal. And Sam, thank you for coming in, and I hope that you would consider coming on and doing a spotlight with us. And I'll get back to you later. And again, I want to thank Susan Murray and Madhu Pardo, who are our program editors, if you will. And I want to wish everybody a good night. And again, this is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our YouTube site in about 2 weeks. So good evening, everybody, and thank you for participating.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.